ladies and gentlemen. This is Desi L. Campbell with Let's Talk Genealogy. Today we have our guest, Joyce Martin, and we're going to do a genealogy reveal to her on today. How are you, Miss Martin?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm so very excited and can't wait to get into it.
All right, so today's show, again, we're going to do a genealogy reveal to Miss Martin, and we're going to go back all the way back just about to the early 1800s on her family in the Delaware area. It is important for us to study our genealogy so that we know exactly where we came from, because in order to know where we're going, we got to know where we're coming from. All right, so we're going to get started. I'm going to share my screen. Again, is the genealogy reveal of Joyce Carter Martin. Of course, she already knows her mother and her father. Her mother is Lydia Ann Carter, and her father is Howard Sudler. This time, we're just going to go up her mother's line, which is the Carter line. So I received this picture from her, Miss Martin, a while back, and these are her grandparents' siblings, correct?
My grandma and her brothers, sisters, two sisters, brother, sister-in-law, and brother-in-law.
Right. So could you tell us who these people are?
Yeah. My grandmother is the one with the sunglasses on that's standing, and her name is Edith Carter. And to her right is Aunt Mildred. She was the oldest sibling, if I remember correctly. And to her left is Uncle Raymond. And sitting in front of him is his wife, Carrie. And to his left is, we called her Aunt Tappy, but her name is Louise. And her husband, Uncle William.
All right. So as you know, Edith Ayers is your grandmother, born 1919 and died in 1985 in Kent County, Delaware. Rayfield Carter was born in Queen Anne, Maryland. Mm-hmm. He was born 1907 and 1967 and died in 1967. So these are your maternal grandparents. Here are two pictures of your paternal grandparents. All right, Rayfield Carter, who I believe this picture is off of a driver's license.
I think
and so. This is Edith Ayers Carter.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go on up the tree. And I found a grave marker of Edith Carter.
Wow.
In the Blanco Church Cemetery, which is in Delaware. And I've also found Rayfield Carter. I found his military draft card.
Yes.
This is your uncle, Milford Raymond Carter, who served in World War II in the U.S. Army Air Force.
Mm-hmm. That's Grandpa's brother.
Yes, your great uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit about him?
You know, I don't remember a lot about Grandpa's brothers, or I remember Aunt Lucy the most because she was around more often. But I think, it's some of the names and the nicknames, like Uncle Flip, Uncle Trap. So I'm not sure who was Flip, who was whatever. I do remember meeting Uncle Milford maybe once. For a short period of time, just one time.
Okay. All right. These are your maternal great-grandparents. All right, so we're going to start with the Ayers side. You had Andrew Ayers. He was born around 1800, and he died in 1962. His wife was Mary Edna Boyer, 1895 and 1955. You see a lot of these the further back you go, a lot of the ancestors married a lot of the younger women married older men.
Yes.
That was a big thing back in that day. And then we have Raymond Carter, who was born in 1887, died in 1950. He married Charlotte Broadway. Mm-hmm. So I found the 1920 census in St. Anne's, Maryland, which had Raymond Carter. So this is where he was born. And this is the 1920 census where he was living with his wife. Her name was Charlotte, but for short, they called them Lottie.
Mhm.
Called them Lottie. And what I find interesting is, and you were seeing one of the other censuses, your father's side of the family was not too far from this side of the family. Matter of fact,
Well,
some of your father's family married into your mother's family. Some of the
yes, they
yes,
did.
they did. Yes, and in one of the censuses, which I think I saved or presented you in a second, they were living right next door to the settlers. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yep. All right, going to the next. Your maternal second great grandparents is Andrew Ayers and Mary Gray. Andrew Ayers was born in 1857. I could not find any death date for him, but Mary Gray was born in 1862 and she died in 1934. I did find a death date for her. And William Isaac Breuer, born 1858, died in 1915. He was married to Rebecca Pryor, who's born 1862 and died in 1950. Of course, you wouldn't know any of those people.
No, I do recognize some names, however, like my grandmother's name was Edith Rebecca Carter, and I see Rebecca here as her grandmother's first name. So if slavery ended about 1867, is that right?
1865.
1865. So would they have been born as slaves? Um, and if so, how was it that you were able to find them?
Okay, so William Isaac Breuer and Andrew Ayers, they were actually born in slavery, but they
Wow.
were only about 2 or 3 years old. No, 7 years old when slavery was over.
Mhm.
They were in the 1870 census, so that's how I was able to find them. Rebecca Pryor, as you see, and as Mary Gray, were born in the same year. They were only in slavery for like 3 years, so they probably wouldn't have known anything about slavery.
Mhm.
Um, on the other side, there's John Carter and Henrietta Hasner. I could not find a date for them, and the only reason I was able to find their names because it was on the death certificate of one of their children. Then
Wow.
you have John Wesley Broadway and Laura Murray. So those are your second great grandparents on your maternal side.
Okay.
All right, so we have the third great grandparents. So the further back we go, the less likely we're going to find a death record because it may be that they died before they started doing death records, which was around 1812 or 1813.
Okay.
So these people were still living in 1870, so that's why I was able to find Washington Boyer, which was born around 1820, and
Mhm.
Elizabeth Wren, who was born in 1834.
These people definitely would have been slaves.
Oh yeah, these are definitely well, actually, no, I can't say that because a lot of these people were found in the 1850 census, which I'll show that to you shortly.
Okay.
Elizabeth Wren, her name could be Prince, or her name could be Elizabeth Prince, or Elizabeth Prin, or Elizabeth Wren. I've seen it several ways, but this is the most common way I've seen it, is Elizabeth Wren. And they were also in Maryland.
Mhm.
And then you have Adam Murray and Sarah Porter and William Broadway and Laura Broadway. I could not find a maiden name for Laura. So these would be your third great grandparents.
Mhm. Wow, that's really far back. I'm really shocked.
All right, so here is the 1850 census in Duck Creek 100. I'm not sure what the 100 means. In Kent County, Delaware, 1850 census. And if you
There's
look,
actually an area and a street you can drive on, a couple of streets that relate to the name Hundred, and Duck Creek specifically. I can see that area.
okay, if you look right here, this is where Washington Boyer is. Right here where my mouse is.
Hmm.
Look who's living beside them.
William Sudler.
Uh,
Well, there are several Sudler groups that are not related, that are different. But I had my uncle, my father's, or I say my grandfather's brother, I think is the way the story goes, married my grandmother's sister.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw where a settler married into that your family. I did see
Hmm.
that. You see the name Temperance?
Hmm.
Well, that's in the Boyer family, the name Temperance, which
Oh.
I'll get into that as I go further back. But that may be a relation between those two families together. So it's a very strong possibility that they could be related. And it may be a different set of settlers. It could be the same settlers, but it doesn't make you and your mother and your father. It doesn't make them related. It's just, let me go ahead and clear that up. All right. So here is William Isaac Boyer's death certificate, and he died in Blanco, Delaware.
Mhm.
And his son Isaac is the informant on his death certificate. He's buried in the Blanco Cemetery. You see, it says his father's name is Isaac Boyer and his mother's
Mhm.
name is Rebecca Pryor. Even though they look like
Mhm.
that's Pry, but I'm sure I'm 99.9% sure that means Pryor because that was his mother's name.
Yeah, and that's a family name of ours is Pryor.
Yes. So it looked like he died of pneumonia. He was very young when he died, so he didn't have that many kids with his wife.
How old was he? 30?
He was, yep, 30.
Wow.
He was 30. But if you look at the death certificate, it says he was a widower,
Right.
which is very interesting. So she died early as well. 1900 census, Wilmington 100, Delaware, and this is Andrew Ayers. Andrew Ayers with his wife Mary. Right. I found this picture of William S. Pryor.
Go ahead.
He was sharper than a two-edged sword. And to be honest, he didn't live very long, but the fact that he lived, the fact that he has a picture and has a really good picture lets me know that he had money or
Okay.
somebody had money because it was very expensive to take pictures back. And then he's clean.
Yes, he
So
is.
he's cleaner than the board of health.
And handsome.
Yes. Do he look like anyone in your family?
No, no.
All right. So
Well, maybe coulda.
this would be one of your uncles, one of your great great uncles.
Hmm.
So we have Robert Pryor, who was born around 1840 and died in 1927, who married Ardelia Camille or Kamau, who was born in 1835. I have no death date for her, no death certificate I could not find.
Hmm.
And then you have Jane Breuer, who was born around 1820. And most of these people, from what I see, were free. They were in the 1850 and 1860 census, which lets me know that they were not slaves. But you do know they were above the Mason-Dixon line.
Hmm.
So 9 times out of 10, they may not have been slaves.
Okay.
But they look like they were very prominent people in the area.
Wow.
All right. So we go back to John Broadway and Lydia Broadway, born in 1808 and died. And Lydia was born in 1810. And then you come over here to Samuel
Where my
Pryor.
mom came.
Say that again.
We see where my mom got her name.
Lydia.
Yeah.
Somebody else. Yeah, I think that name was passed down to some other people as well within the family.
Hmm.
And then we have Cedric Kamau, born around 1820, who married a Matilda Hawkins. And then you have Samuel Pryor and Temperance Pryor, born in around 1825. So these are your fourth great grandparents.
Wow.
That's pretty back. That's pretty far back.
Hmm.
And a lot of African American people cannot go this far back. And actually, most of these people were in the 1870 census. Well, this is the chart. This is a
Woohoo.
chart that I made for your mother. So your mother's name here is here. So as you see, all of these names, I didn't get to Robert Pryor, but I'm showing you on this chart. Robert Pryor's father was Samuel Pryor and Temperance. Remember I told you about the name Temperance?
Right.
And Temperance Pryor. And Camille's parents was, we already said, Cedric and Matilda. So this is the chart starting from your mother and going all the way up your tree. So
Wow.
I am going to send you this chart. I also have a big one that I have in a frame that I'll actually send to you, bring it to you so that you can frame that and put it on your wall.
Desi, I am so overwhelmed and so impressed. I can't wait to dive into it and really better understand and kind of put legend, to the letter and really have an order for things. So I
Yes.
think it's going to be terribly excited. And I'm thinking about Aunt Grace. I can't wait to share it with her on the Sudler side. Aunt Diane is a family historian, and she had been working on putting some of these pieces together for many years. And so it's very exciting.
Great. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's show. We thank you for being a part of our show. And until next time, make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.
Thanks, Desi.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's show. We hope you enjoy the information about cemetery preservation. Next week, May 7th, we'll be doing a genealogy reveal for Joyce Carter Martin. On May 14th, Sandhills Family Heritage Organization out of Spring Lake, North Carolina. And on May 21st, we'll be interviewing Dina Hill with the McNeil story. May 28th, we'll be talking about the Great Migration from Harnett County, North Carolina to Wayne and Newton County, Mississippi with Don Wright and Brian Hayes. Not knowing about your ancestry is like a tree with no roots. With something to think about, make it a great day or not. The choice is yours.